Okay, today on the show, we have Jordan Pyle from Keller Williams. Jordan is the founder of Pyle Residential with Keller Williams in Chicago, Lincoln Park. Over the last 6 years, Jordan has built a robust real estate business and network through hard work, authenticity, and trust. Jordan believes that success in anything is 90% dependent on your mindset and 10% on the actions you take on a day-to-day basis. Jordan is the current chair for the Chicago Association of Realtors Young Professionals Network. He's also the founder and president of the Keller Williams Young Professionals Chicago chapter. He is a 2019 top producer and in the last few days was just recently named in the National Association of Realtors 30 under 30. It's a very, very big deal. Jordan is passionate about leading by example and empowering and supporting others in achieving a limitless life. Please follow Jordan on Instagram. You can find him at jordan.pyle, that's P-Y-L-E. And also you can find him on his website, pyleresidential.com. Jordan, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much, DJ. I'm glad to be here. Hope everyone is taking care of themselves out there.
Yeah, I was telling Jordan before we started, I'm like, I'm not feeling 100%. So I may disappear for a few weeks from these, but no, I think I'm okay. But yeah, I agree. I am in our office in Chicago. We're supposed to really be home, but I'm considered an essential person. So I get to come to work. There's usually 10 of us here and it is regulated to just me and the owner, and we stay far away from each other. We have to yell to each other to say hello, but I get to do the podcast. So but I think as soon as we're done, I'm gonna get home. There's police now patrolling the streets. And so I get a little nervous even driving home. I feel like I'm doing something wrong. But anyway, we're here to talk about you, not me. Jordan is just a wonderful guy. He's really somebody that I admire a lot, and I'm so excited that you're on the show. He's a part of a lot he just does a lot with the industry. He stays active, involved, and he gives back. But Jordan, let's start at the very beginning, because I'd really love our listeners to know, you've been in business for 6 years now, but how did you get into real estate? Why did you get into real estate?
Yeah. Well, first off, grateful to be here. I've been watching this show. I know I've told you that before in the past, this podcast, and this is one of the best things you can do is just be a sponge to the industry. Listen to other agents, figure out what they're doing, collaborate. So to actually be on the show today is super cool. But yeah, to kind of rewind the tapes to your question is, I got in it. Yeah, this would be year 7. So got in it right out of college. One of those crazy people that got, moved here without a job, 24 or what would be about mid 2013 going into 2014, got my license, had a network here of 5 to 7 people, no knowledge of the city, no knowledge of how to sell real estate. And, slowly but surely over time, I kind of have put pieces together. I was just naturally attracted to it from my real estate agent that found me my first rental. And at the time I was in the job market, and I kind of asked him, I was like, this is cool what you do. Like you just drive people around, you help them look at spots, and then you get paid if they decide to live somewhere. And he's like, yeah, man, like jump in, like go get your license. I got a spot for you. And, I was given a lot of the wrong advice up front. I'll tell you that, a lot of false hope, and
sure.
How awesome.
It's super easy.
Yeah. So I definitely was pitched that, and I knew nothing better at, age 22, age 23. And
yeah.
Long story short is got in it, stumbled my way through. I'm not that instant success story by any means, and I'm just now scratching the surface, but it took me some time to find the right environment, to find the right way to do things, accountability. And now today, like I said, we're year 7 and dealing with something that we haven't seen before with the whole coronavirus, but
sure.
There's a lot of good, I think, that's also going to come out of this, so we can kind of dive into that, today on the show.
Yeah, thank you. And that's interesting. So I'm always so impressed with realtors. See, I can't say brokers because in Illinois we call them brokers, and in nowhere else they just call them agents or realtors. So we're just going to say realtors to not confuse. I get lots of email from the audience going, why do you say the word broker? And I'm like, oh, it's an Illinois thing.
Right.
But anyway, well, you became a realtor very early in your early 20s. And you said, I knew 5 to 7 people. I'm guessing those people were probably around the same age as you and probably not buying homes. Most of my friends of that age were not. So how did you, if we can rewind just to talk about, because we have a lot of people who listen who are newly licensed or are younger or who just don't have that sphere of influence. And they're like, what do I do? Can you talk about what you did to survive? Because this is a very difficult thing to do, especially as early as you did it.
Yeah. Well, I think, like a lot of brokers or agents that get into the business, it's kind of a progression from rentals to, maybe buyers, and then maybe from buyers to sellers, and some combination of that. And
Sure.
I was no different in that, except for I just had nothing, right? So a lot of people are like, when I was asking around, what do I do? They're like, call through your database. And I'm like, well, I don't have one of those, right? So two things came from that. It made me look other places, put myself in uncomfortable situations, network, tell every single person that I knew or that I came in contact with that I was in the real estate business and that I was willing to work hard to earn their business and their trust and their confidence. I was definitely the honest one where, there was a little bit of fake it till you make it there. But at the same time, I was like, I understand I'm inexperienced, but I'm going to work harder than the next guy to make sure that, whatever it is that you're looking to do, I can support you in that. So I think that's something that helped me kind of get the ball rolling. And then the other part of that is like, I didn't have a database and everyone was talking about it. So I just put all my focus into meeting new people, putting them into a database, and then finding a way to stay in systematic touch with them. It's nothing different than you hear from anyone else.
Well, but it's good. It's really important to hear it because they say repetition is the mother of skill. And it is, Brian Buffini, who everybody who listens knows, he has a, very successful training and coaching system and program, and probably the biggest in the entire industry. And he always says how you win the day. And he has about 5 ways that you win the day. One of which is, did you meet 2 to 5 people today? And it's such a simple and basic thing to go, oh yeah, I'm supposed to do that. But to actually do it is remarkably difficult. But if you can actually meet just 2 people 5 days a week, that's 10 a week, 40 a month, 480 a year. Within a couple of years, you will have so many people in your database, and some of those people will use you. But it is, I'm so glad you mentioned meeting people, because we've interviewed other people on the show, and that seems to be a very consistent thing, is even as you continue to build your business, and even as you get to where you're working mostly referral, it's still meet people, add them to the database, stay in touch. So.
Right. And I think back then it was just more about as many people as possible. You get to a certain point where you have to start becoming a lot more intentional about where you spend your time, who you spend your time with. But then it was just a matter of getting out there, showing people that I was going to show up every single day. I think that's a big thing, is like just having staying power. And whether you're busy doing deals or not, like every single day I showed up, every single day I made progress, every single day I asked questions. And really just studied. I'm a very pretty analytical and kind of strategic in how I move around. So I would get on a subject, something that came up during that day that I didn't know, or something that put me in an uncomfortable position, and that whole night I'd go back and figure out how to respond to that better the next time. So I'd really dive in or reach out to some mentors and say, hey, this came up in conversation today. Like, how would you go about responding to this? So little by little, every single day, it just was the Compound Effect, which is sitting on my shelf right above me here. The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy.
Great book.
It's gradually then suddenly. It took 6 years to see now to the point of a database that generates $10 million, plus in business every year. So playing the long game is important, and I kind of had that mindset going in.
Yeah, and I imagine even today, the daily disciplines and behaviors that you ideally would do to be able to then get you to where you want to be. I've interviewed people even from your Keller Williams office. I've had a bunch of them on the show, and a lot of them will talk about just keeping your head focused on those daily disciplines and understanding that's really fundamentals win the game, right? So
Definitely.
I appreciate you talking about that. I do want to also, I know giving back's really important. You're really involved in the local association, also involved in your company as well. And can you talk about why you got involved and what that's meant for you, and maybe just for our listeners who aren't maybe yet involved, and maybe why they should consider it as well?
Yeah, man, it's definitely something I'm super passionate about. Everybody that knows me knows I'm, young professionals is kind of my world. It's my jam, right? So what you're referencing is I stepped up to join the leadership, or the advisory board for the Chicago Association of Realtors Young Professional Network. What would it be? I guess 2 years ago now. I have some mentors, as I mentioned, in my life, and a good one by the name of Tommy Choi was he's someone that has really pushed me. He's put me, again, outside of my comfort zone, But at the same time, he's been kind of that guiding hand in my leadership journey to say, hey, just go do it. You're going to figure it out. You're going to get better because of it. And so he was kind of the initial spark that was like, you might as well try it, get to know these people. Because originally I was like, why would I want to go network and sit on a board with all these other real estate agents? And at the
That's
time,
not going to help me build my business. How? Yeah.
Exactly. So at the time, I definitely had a scarcity mindset. And then he helped me, and a lot of other people, and specifically Keller Williams, has helped me create an abundance mindset. And so once I got in it, I kind of realized that I liked stepping up and having a voice, having a platform to affect change, for the good. So once I got in, I spent 1 year as a board member. And then I was asked to basically step up as the vice chair my second year on the board, which was last year. And then now I've naturally transitioned into the chair, and I'm blessed to be able to lead 14 other Chicago real estate individuals, and we're all about education, collaboration, and camaraderie to just bring up our industry as a whole. I love the quote that iron sharpens iron, and a high tide rises all ships.
Yeah.
So really, for me to kind of be on the front lines, especially in a space where we're entering this disruptive time. Take coronavirus out of it, we were in this very disruptive time of the real estate industry. And I want to be the guy that's on the front lines fighting, that's leading by example, and that's also creating that ripple effect, again, to bring up the industry as a whole. So that's kind of why I'm passionate about it.
I'm glad. Thank you for that. And I'm glad to hear your thoughts, because I think it's one of those things that we often, especially people who are busy, they have families, they have other responsibilities, they're trying to build their business. And now there's this other opportunity to give back. And it doesn't really fit into the business plan of, no, I need to like find more clients. And the irony is exactly what Tommy, who, by the way, for those of you not from Chicago, Tommy was the president of the Chicago Association of Realtors just recently. He's somebody who is a good part of his life is all about giving back, and Jordan is very similar. But the irony is, by doing that, it actually expands your life. You actually end up getting so much more than you give, whether it's financial or whether it's just in your own pride or confidence or just feeling better as a human being. I feel the same way. I'm involved in several charities, and I'm on some boards as well. And I was just interviewed by a college student who wanted to ask me about business and whatever. She goes, "Look, what's one thing you wish you would have learned much younger?" And I said, the only thing is I wish I would have started volunteering like 20 years ago, because my life would be even richer now. Forget about financial success. I would just be a happier person. And Jordan's about, go ahead.
It's the stuff, it's the stuff that's fulfilling. And that's ultimately why I jumped into this.
Yeah. I
like to refer to it as leadership, involvement, giving back, all that kind of group together, whether that be young professionals, or I give back to Alzheimer's Association and things like that. But it's the stuff that I realized I was working in the business, and I was creating a successful business, helping clients get from where they wanted to be to where they wanted to go, or where they were to where they wanted to go. And but I realized I was missing this side of it that was like, I'm actually making like a deep impact on my community to serve. And I looked at, obviously the conventional ways of doing it within your niche of your neighborhood or your specific area you live in. But, the one thing I realized and harnessed was I didn't have what I wish I would have had when I first started in the industry, which is that guidance, which is that what I like to call a growth environment, or a community of other people that are like-minded, that are also in this abundance mindset, trying to help each other get better. So if I can shorten that learning curve for people, we talk about it all the time, that real estate's an industry that, 95% of people that get in the business, within a year, they're out of the business, whatever the crazy stat is. So for me to have learned the hard way, to kind of failed and pick myself back up and done that over and over, I learned a lot quicker, and I want to save other people that time, that money, that energy to ultimately make them successful more, faster.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And for everyone who's listening, because we have listeners from all over the country, Jordan is the chair of what's called the Young Professional Network here in the city of Chicago. And of course, we have listeners from all over. So everyone listening is probably a member of their local association, give them a call and see if they have a Young Professional Network chapter. If not, consider creating one, but they probably have one. And it's a wonderful organization, and you don't have to be necessarily young to be involved, but it's just a place to learn from other realtors and support each other, and also to affect change at a larger level as well, to affect policy change.
DJ, one thing I'd add to that, if you don't mind, is
go ahead.
And it's even though me volunteering in these positions doesn't directly pay me, like we were talking about that a little bit before this,
Sure.
some of the things that you do in your life that pay you, some of them that don't, but a lot of it's the passion.
Yeah.
But it's goes back to the infinite game, or Simon Sinek's new book, which is all about the long game, right?
Yeah.
Now 2 to 3 years into my leadership journey and my, sitting on these boards and stepping in these leadership positions, now a third of my business, literally 33% or more, might even be closer to 40, is agent to agent referrals. And yes, that comes because yeah.
That's amazing.
Not only through the local association and how that's all interweaved within all the other local associations around the country, but Keller Williams, also I mentioned I'm the founder and president of the Keller Williams Young Professionals Chicago chapter. So I know people, multiple people in almost every city around the country because of these involvements. So now when anyone knows anyone either moving to or from Chicago, if they have to sell their home to leave Chicago or they need to buy one moving to Chicago, typically I'm the guy they think of because I'm the most present in these different organizations that I'm a part of.
Isn't that interesting? And I'm sure you never thought that that was going to happen. And that's not the reason why you got involved, but isn't that an amazing, just wonderful thing to have come out of it?
Not in the way that it has. I knew it would come. I didn't think it was going to be 33 or 40% of my business.
Wow.
Yep.
That is remarkable.
Yep.
Wow. Well, let's talk a little bit about mindset, because I know right now I think it's a good topic for a good part of the country. The majority of realtors are staying home, either by choice or by force. And maybe they're not totally sure, how to stay active, how to stay busy, what to do, what to talk to clients about. And I know you don't have all the answers, but I want to talk, I'd love you to talk to our listeners about what you're doing. How are you staying productive? Is it business as usual? Have things changed? And what are you doing to just stay active and positive?
Yeah, I think it's, again, going back to my, my intro, is everything is mindset. It all starts with mindset. So, I like to scale it back first and say that, the way that you show up in the world is directly impacted by the things that you do to give to yourself or to show love to yourself before you ever show up to the world. And what I mean by that is, like, it's the analogy, and I've referenced this in the past, but it's the put your mask on in the airplane first before you can put anyone else's mask on. Because if you can't take care of yourself and you can't show up healthy 200% and ready to serve everyone else in your world, then you're not going to have the impact that you're looking to have. So for me, this whole coronavirus, it starts there. So it's about, how am I making sure that I'm doing things, from working out to meditation to kind of this holistic health and wellness routine that I've implemented through my morning routine, to make sure that when I do come in contact with potential clients or prospects, that I'm giving them an unbiased opinion, essentially, that I'm giving them an opinion based on facts and the things that you can control, based on a bunch of fluff or a bunch of fear, right?
Sure.
So for me, it's really making sure that I'm grounded in formulating these opinions, and then talking through that specific situation with that client, because there's not one solution right now in today's world that works for everybody. Like, I can't tell you, if you reach out to me, it's a good time to buy or sell. Like, I need to know what other factors are going on in your world, and then be able to hopefully provide a prescription to that. So for me, it all starts with working on your mindset. I was thinking about this earlier today. It's like, I've been preparing for a time like this. Like, all those extra nights staying up late, making a few more calls, or getting an extra mile in on the treadmill, or, going that extra 1% every single day, has now got me to a point where things start crashing around you. You're very centered because you understand who you are at your core, right? So I think by harnessing who you are at your core and then allowing that to extrapolate out into your interactions, your relationships and things like that is the best thing that all of us can do right now to stay sane, stay healthy, and continue staying focused and disciplined when it does come time to work.
Yeah, that's, it's funny, you're talking about taking care of yourself. And a lot of times we don't think of things like, well, we know that we should exercise, with some weights, and we should do some cardio because we know it's a good idea for our overall health. But what is oftentimes sort of not talked about as much is you will be able, and Jordan was just talking about this, But I want to dive into it a little bit more, because if you exercise your body, you're going to get rid of a lot of extra stress and tension that's just there. Especially right now, everyone's a little freaked out. We're all freaked out. This is normal. We're all scared. A lot of people are worried about their jobs and just obviously getting sick and a lot of things. So everyone's got additional stress and fear right now. That's totally normal. And exercise is probably more important than ever to help get rid of some of that, so that as a real estate agent, you can show up better for your clients. You actually said that, and I was really important to hear. I think I want just to say it again, is when you exercise, you're not only giving yourself, the fuel, and you're going to increase your energy, and you're going to probably, have a healthier life as a result, a longer life, but you're also going to be able to show up better for your clients. A lot of that fear and stress might get dissipated through some exercise. And that's just a great reason alone, because as Jordan says, he wants to show up for his clients in the best possible condition. And that means he has to take care of himself first. And so I'm really glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I'm an analogy guy, and I think this paints a picture for people. And and I've talked about it again in the past, but like the difference between being like at the flag and the flagpole. So right now, everyone is the flag. There's wind, and the flag is flapping all over the place, right? But what happens in a storm? The flagpole stays completely straight up and down, and the wind or the flag flaps like crazy. So the meditation, the working out, the journaling, the gratitude. Your morning routine, your night routine at the end of the day to make sure you're kind of, bookending your day, like all of that creates a stronger flagpole, so that people don't see you as the flag. They know they can go to you for, advice and to consult with, and to know that you're going to be a strong and grounded opinion. So I think all these things allow you to, again, show up as that flagpole versus that flag. And then therefore you can, really make a positive impact for those other people.
I agree that I guess that's where that expression becoming unflappable comes from, right? It's the same metaphor, and you have to practice. And now what a great opportunity to start to develop those habits of taking care of yourself. And also you should be taking care of your clients too. But what a great opportunity. And if anyone out there is not familiar with the book, Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, which I actually big fan of, it actually walks you through a 6-step process, including meditation, exercise, journaling, reading, visualization, affirmations, etc. And it's a simple thing. You can modify it to your own, your own preference, but it's a great way just to center yourself and get ready for the day, and also to do at the end of the day. How did I do today? And to forgive yourself when you make mistakes. Like, okay, I didn't have a great day. I didn't get to the gym, or I was supposed to call back those 2 clients and I didn't, but I'm going to do better tomorrow. And just, setting yourself up. And you're right. It's don't let the win just happen to you, right? Like the win's going to happen. That's going to happen. And it's like, are you going to be the flag or the flagpole? So I appreciate that metaphor.
BJ, the morning routine, I would say it's something I'm incredibly passionate about. It's been one thing I've implemented probably 4 to 5 years ago. And yes, I missed days. It modified, but always being able to have that to go back to. And when I execute that, I wake up at 5 a.m. I do my exercise. I do the savers, right?
So he's referencing Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you do the silence, you do the affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and then journaling.
Yeah.
You feel like Superman. You can go that whole day. You're so fired up because you've already taken the time to give back to yourself. Right. So if anyone listening to this, they're struggling to get a morning routine together, like, I love talking people through it because I see the change it makes on their life. And then that creates that ripple effect for them to help somebody else out. So if there's one thing I would recommend for both business success and just life, like being happy and joyful, it's the morning routine, and the Miracle Morning is a great start.
Yeah, it is. And it's always, it's again, life is going to happen, right? Bad things are coming, good things are coming, everything's coming. And the question is what can I do to get myself in the right state to be able to handle the good and the bad as it happens? And mindset is the key to that. And spending some time early in the morning is a good idea, because it's typically when we're not being bothered by maybe other family members, our spouses, our significant others, and emails and everything else. The world hasn't started knocking at our door quite yet if you get up early enough. and you can spend that time and give it to yourself, and it pays dividends. You will just show up better. You're just going to have a better life. It's really that simple. I'm glad we're talking about that. All right. I also want to talk because we're really talking about some fundamentals related to discipline. And I know discipline obviously is important for you, but you are also training for an Ironman, which is so far beyond my comprehension. But I am so impressed with people who do that. Can you talk a little bit about the discipline it takes to do that, and how it relates, if at all, to what you're doing in your business?
It 100% relates. And that's ultimately why I decided to do the Ironman in general. So I'm doing the Madison, Wisconsin as of now, Ironman in September 13th, later this year. And it's the full 140.6. So it's, it's 2.4 mile swim followed by a 112 mile bike ride, and then finishing with a marathon. So 26.2 miles. So it adds up to 140.6 miles. And yeah, so at the beginning of the year, I was looking at my goals, looking at, everything I wanted to accomplish. And I don't know if you've ever read, but there's an awesome book out there, and anybody in KW knows it. It's called The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan.
Yes, great book.
One of the best business books in general, not real estate related at all. And so I was thinking, well, okay, if I could really sum up every single thing in my life to one thing that I need to focus on moving into 2020, not knowing that all this crazy stuff was going to happen this year, but it came back, and as I peeled back the onion, it became the Ironman, because I knew that something of this type of scope, something that large that I knew I was going to have to put that much time, discipline, and energy into, it was going to force discipline into every other area of my life.
Yeah. Because that's, some people, that's for them, it's a full-time job preparing for the Ironman.
Yeah, I mean, it's no joke. It's some days it's 2 hours, working out. Some days it's 4. And some days going in the future, it might be 5 or 6, right? As you get closer and closer to it. So that makes me wake up with intention, wake up with purpose, get all the things that make me feel good done in the morning, like the morning routine that we were talking about. And then now I know when I'm at work, like, hey, I have this amount of time, and it pushes me to help time block and batch things, because I know that later that night, I got to go back to the gym and get another 2 hours in, right? So there's a quote out there that talks about, like, all work will fill, or all work will expand to fill the time allowed.
Right.
If you give yourself 9 hours to do something, you're gonna take 9 hours to do it. If you give yourself an hour, and then the next hour you're doing something else, you're gonna finish it in an hour. So that was kind of the mindset I had going into it. And then, the actual training itself, it's super cool, because it's something that I get better at every single day. I have breakthroughs every single day, and I'm constantly going past limits and ceilings that I previously thought were like the limit, right?
Right.
And I think all that applies to business, and especially like putting yourself in, getting comfortable in uncomfortable situations and knowing that there's always more in the tank. I think that allows me to then, it translates into every single area of my life, not just business, but also in the time I spend with my loved ones, making sure I'm present doing things.
Yeah.
And it's just, at the end of the day, it keeps me healthy too, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's, is it been, obviously, some of your trainings, I'm sure, been modified, and maybe you're not able to train it at where you'd like to right now, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So I've been modifying. I can't swim right now, but there's band exercises, there's shoulders exercises. I can, someone told me I shouldn't be doing this, but I've been going on runs outside, keeping my distance, but
Sure.
whatever. And then biking, I have an indoor bike. But that example in itself is exactly why it applies to life too, because no one knew that this curveball
Sure.
was going to get thrown at us. So it's about learning how to pivot the training, do things differently to supplement, what you would have done to achieve the same result.
Yeah. And so I'd also like to talk about, what realtors could be doing right now, being that most of us are at home. We're sitting around. What are you doing to keep your business running? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I'm not going to say this is what you should do. I'm just going to say this is what I'm doing. And this is based on some feedback from other people and things like that. So I wrote a few things down because I figured this was probably going to come up, and I think it's super important right now. So the first thing is dial in your morning routine. I'm not going to spend time on that because we just talked about it, but start building routines. This is a perfect time for we've been for the longest time been building bad habits and good habits, but we've been
Yeah.
building all these habits. So it's easy now to kind of like, if you think about yourself, it's almost like a juice cleanse for your life, right? So this is challenging not only life, but society to take back all the things that are important to us and get rid of the weight, right? So now that you have a clean slate, start focusing on what are the things what positive habits, what beneficial habits can you implement, and then just start stacking those versus, letting all the old ones creep back in, right? So I think that's the first thing. Operate on a schedule as if you were going to be going to the office every day.
Yes.
The next thing that I'm doing is I am going, and for the time being, I'm taking my annual goal and I'm putting it on the shelf. And not to say that things might not turn around in 2 weeks and all is business as usual. That could happen, but I think this is a serious issue. I think it will pass, but I do think that this is something that's going to change the way we operate from now into the future. So, so taking that goal, putting it on the counter, on the table, and then redefining the next 90-day goals. So I think seeing out a month is too far. So go to 90 days, figure out what those goals are, and then break those into monthly goals. From there, break it into weekly goals, and then from there, break it into daily goals. And then it all ultimately, once you get that clarity around those 90-day goals, now you can think about your daily scoreboard. So then I would say every single day, if nothing gets done, make sure you build a daily scoreboard, and those things have to get done. If nothing else gets done, those things get done, the day is a success. So for me, it's things that are both personal and business. So for me, it's wake up at 5 a.m., write my goals, meditate, check my bank accounts and my budget, because I think that's huge.
I do that. I do that as well.
Yeah, especially with this time. And then the last thing that strictly, is good for my business is set an appointment. So it's literally just set one appointment a day, do these other 4 things, and everything will move in the right direction. And then outside of that, the last step I would suggest is redefine and rebuild out on your Google Calendar. Like you can start a new calendar, call it your perfect week, and look at the 7 days and say, what do I want my life to look like? So making sure you're putting in all your recurring events. If you have workouts, put them in there. If you have phone calls, put them in there. If you're a parent and you have kids with certain obligations, put it all in there. Make sure the big things and the important things get in there first. And then fill in the rest of the time with lead generation activities and things that are going to help grow your business. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now.
Thank you. I think that's very helpful for our listeners. This is a great opportunity to build your scoreboard like Jordan has, and putting every area of your life in there. Talk about, put some spiritual goals, put some social goals, put some emotional goals, physical goals, and business goals. And I've never been a big fan of ultimately a goal. Like my end goal is to achieve X. I've always been more, for me, what's always been better is what direction am I heading and what are the daily disciplines to get there. And that's all I ever focus on is what do I need to do today? So you start at the end and you work backwards, like Jordan says, and you say, okay, what do I need to do today to win the day? And whatever that means to you. And even if it's just, hey, I want to think about my relationship, my primary relationship, or the relationship I have with my kids or my coworkers or my clients, or lead generation, and just figure out a couple simple behaviors. Because like Jordan's in the process of training for an Ironman, and I'm sure to just think about the sheer enormity of that is overwhelming to think, maybe not for him anymore, but for the rest of us, going, oh my God, he's doing 100+ miles, in 3 different sports, almost,
still there for me, trust me.
yeah. But you don't have to think about that, because all you have to think about is today I have to do, 3 things around training, and I just have to, and those aren't easy either, but it's a lot easier to think about that than to try to imagine accomplishing this massive physical feat that you're going to do because you did all the daily activities.
What I do in my workouts is I'll do like, okay, the next 20 minutes. Focus on the next 20 minutes.
Exactly.
Next 20 minutes, the next 20, and you can easily do that in business. Set your timer, just recurring nonstop, essentially, on your phone. Every 20 minutes, when the bell goes off, work focused for 20 minutes. Take a 5-minute break, walk around, get a drink of water, meditate, do whatever you need to do, make a phone call, text people, and then jump back into that 20-minute time block. I forget what it's called. There's the
Pomodoro technique.
Yeah. So doing things like that, I think, are going to help. And then I don't want to forget to say like actual tactical things to do with your data or to do with your business. Like you got to call people right now.
Yes.
You got to check in on people. And I think it's not a conversation about real estate. Of course, let them ask you if it comes up in conversation what your perspective is, and give an educated response. And so you got to know what's going on around you. But it's about figuring out how they're doing. If there's any way you can help, and just reaching out, letting them know that you're there in any way, shape, or form, right?
Yeah.
And then the way that I'm structuring that in my business to figure out who I'm calling every day. And of course, there's people in my database, and I know a lot of agents listening to this, but any clients, like everyone equals or matters the same, but you got to have a system for how you're reaching out to people. So what I'm doing is we've started pivoting over to a new CRM, like right around the same time of all this going down. So I'm taking all of my people from my old CRM, putting them in my new one. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going through 10 records a day. So 10 contacts a day, filling in as much information I can about these people. So their birthdays, their email addresses, home addresses, whatever I have on them, social media profiles, and then filling that card out and then giving them a call or shooting them a text, checking in on them. So just breaking it down again to 10 people a day, within 70 days, I'm going to be through my whole database of 700 people. And then everything will be cleaned. It's a good chance to reset your database, get rid of some of the fluff, and then focus on the people that are really important to you in there.
Great advice, and I hope everyone is listening there. Again, Jordan is very skilled at breaking things down to its smallest, doable, actionable components. Right. So he's even breaking down his time into smaller chunks, because even for some of us, working on something for an hour might be a bit overwhelming. So yeah, break it down into 20 minutes, and then congratulate yourself when you made it the 20 minutes. That's not easy to do. And then just keep take a few minutes and then get back to it. And all of a sudden, by the end of the day, you'll have so much accomplished. I read a statistic that said the average, I don't know if this is true, but it seems to be pretty close to true. Probably the average, office worker really only does about an hour and a half to 2 hours of work a day, but they're there for 8 hours because, they, like you were saying, they expand. You have 8 hours to get 2 hours of work done. But as real estate agents, we don't really have that. We have, and it's all up to us. And so you really have to be disciplined and structured. And if you can't be, and not everyone's good at that, is get a partner, get a coach, find somebody that can help hold you accountable. I'm a big fan of coaching, and you can even find a buddy. If you can't afford hiring a coach, find a buddy, find somebody that is struggling like you, and you can help each other.
TJ, I'm glad you mentioned that, man, because that's the last leg of all this. Is everyone knows what to do. Every single person out there knows what to do. And it's a matter of stepping in there and allowing yourself again to get uncomfortable. It's not a lot of people are willing to make the sacrifice of like the short term for the long-term benefits. So I think now more than ever, when you can't necessarily be having real estate conversations, you can, don't get me wrong, but it's limited in its scope because there's bigger problems in the world. Now is a time where these small things, like these things from the heart that you're doing, are going to build a bigger business down the road. It's going to build trust, authenticity, all those different things. And to show empathy and compassion to people right now that's going to go so far, such a long way. So I think every day just waking up with, your head down and heart up. Gary Keller mentioned that. Mm-hmm. Head down on focusing, because it's so easy to get distracted right now with all the Zoom webinars and different things going on online. And head down on what is important, and then heart up to be able to help anyone that needs it, right? So that's kind of how I'm going about my days today.
Wonderful. I think that's a great place to wrap up. Head down, heart up. I think that's what life is all about. So it's like that old Zen saying. They say, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. So always got to keep your head down, but keep the heart up as well. It'll guide you into the right spot. And right now, everyone is scared. So what a great opportunity for you to let them know you care about them. And guess what? People want to work with people who they know care about them. So most of the people, the service providers I use, have not reached out. I get the generic emails that they send to everyone else, but I'm not getting text messages or phone calls from lots of different providers that I pay money for. You can be the exception to that, and you can let people know. and you have time. So now's a great time to do it. So also I want to, Jordan, for everyone listening, not all of everyone who listens is necessarily a real estate professional. But we sometimes have, clients who are interested in working with someone like yourself. If we have any buyers, sellers, renters, investors who are looking to work with you, or if we have agents who want to refer business to you,
Yeah.
since obviously that's a big for you, what's the best way they should be reaching out?
No, I appreciate that, DJ. Probably the easiest way for anyone that's looking to buy or sell, or if you're trying to get in touch, just send me an email, jordan@pyleresidential.com. Or you can go to my website, pyleresidential.com. Any locally, and then I can pretty much connect you with anybody across the country to buy or sell if you have those needs as well.
Awesome. And also remember to follow Jordan on Instagram. You can find him at jordan.pyle, again, Pyle. So jordan.pyle on Instagram. And also his website, which he just mentioned, Pyle Residential, has links to all of his social media accounts. So you can find him on all the different platforms there. Jordan, thank you so much. I know you're incredibly busy, not only with your business, training for the Ironman, and then also all the other involvement that you have in leadership positions. So I really appreciate your time. And we're so excited to have had you on the show. And congratulations again on the 30 under 30. That's a huge nod to you. Again, just keep up all the great work. And for all of our listeners, we have just a quick couple of things we'd like to mention. Number one, please tell a friend. Think about another real estate professional that you know that would benefit from listening to this interview that we just had with Jordan, and just tell one other person. If everyone does that, we'll double our listenership, and we would appreciate that as well. And then last, to remember to follow us on Facebook. Our Facebook page is facebook.com/keepingitrealpod. We post an article every single day that we find online that's written specifically to help real estate agents grow their practice. And also we do post our episodes there as well. So you can find out what we're doing. So follow us, facebook.com/keepingitrealpod. All right. On behalf of Jordan and myself, to the listeners, we say thank you for continuing to listen. And on behalf of the listeners and myself, Jordan, thank you for your time, and we'll see everyone on the next episode. Jordan, thanks.
Thank you so much, DJ. Grateful for you, man.